Good afternoon to you. Mark Sudduth, HurricaneTrack.com, here with your Hurricane Pro and HD video blog for Monday, the 21st of July, 2014. During this 10-day time frame, a look at climatology tells us that the main development region out here, the deep tropics, does have precedence for development, even though it's not very many over the past 100 years or so. The Caribbean is virtually clear of anything, just a few random ones over time, but mostly the majority of the Caribbean Sea is a graveyard for development this time of year due to strong mid-level winds that blow through here and keep things kind of scoured out. The East Pacific stays active typically, as does parts of the Gulf and the Southwest Atlantic. Our area of interest today is going to be out here. This is Invest Area 92L, and a real quick recap on what that means. When there's an area of suspect weather like this that we have here, instead of just calling every one of them an area of suspect weather, we have this naming convention from the National Hurricane Center. The numbers 90 through 99, and then the letter L for Atlantic designates an area of interest, and then you can assign resources to monitor it, computer models, etc. And then you have a name. All right, what are we looking at? Well, this is Invest Area 92L instead of, well, what are we looking at? Well, we've got this blob of clouds out here. It just helps to keep things nice and simple and organized. So we are up to 92L. Arthur was at one point 91L, and when we get to 99L, and then we start over again, assuming we get that far this year, which we probably will, there will be another 90L. It just keeps going and going and going. So here it is, and you can see a pretty well-defined curl and curvature. I was trying to say both words at once. But pretty good dry air over this way, and then dry air to its north and west. But right out in front of it, enough of a healthy environment that it's trying to develop. It's not typical, though, that we see something get going this far east this early in the season. Nevertheless, folks in the Lesser Antilles, you're going to want to watch this as it cruises into your general neck of the woods over the next few days. Pretty strong high pressure sitting out over the Atlantic right now. The Bermuda Azores High would steer this on a general west-northwest path. The trough is sitting over the central part of the U.S. and not enough out over the northwest Atlantic to curve this out to sea. So if it does develop, it could end up in the Greater Antilles in the next 4 to 5 days. So we'll watch and see. I have my doubts that it's going to develop much because it's small and of the time of year that it is, and there's lots of dry air still sitting out in this region to inhibit its development. Nevertheless, this is the GFS, the Global Forecast System, depiction of the system at 5,000 feet in the atmosphere, what we call the 850 millibar chart. And you can see the outline of that nice ridge over the Atlantic Ocean here, very clearly the clockwise flow, and then there's lower pressure in the atmosphere taking shape over the nation's midsection, not over the northwest Atlantic. So this is the type of pattern that could steer something like this towards the United States if it were to develop. But we won't worry about that unless it does develop. So here it is, reflected fairly nicely at the 850 millibar level, going out 24 hours, and this is just one model interpretation. This area is pretty void of any real data, certainly no upper air observations, and very little ship report activity, so this is mostly satellite-derived observations. By 24 hours, you see that it kind of weakens a little bit of a curve to the system, but that's about it. The reflection there, the vorticity signature, weakening. At 48 hours, it's just a tiny little circle and just a little perturbation, if you will, of the wind barbs here, indicating the tropical wave, this easterly wave. Normally, the flow is east to west, and then you have sort of this wave of low pressure embedded in that flow. That's why this is called a tropical wave or an easterly wave. And by day 3, I think this is, 72 hours, pretty weak, just a little V-shape to it as it approaches the islands, which will probably be what happens due to the fact that there is a good amount of dry air around, and this is a small system, and it'll be susceptible to rapid changes in strength up or down. It may become a tropical depression, maybe a tropical storm. If it does, it'll be the name will be Bertha. And beyond that, it just doesn't look like it's going to do very much. So I wouldn't worry about it, except just keep an eye on it. I think that's good, obviously. And everything else is nice and quiet for the most part across the tropics. All right, well, that is it from me for today. Mark Sudduth, HurricaneTrack.com. And for Hurricane Pro and HD, thanks for tuning in. I'll have another update for you next Monday, unless 92L develops, in which case we'll have continuing coverage the week ahead.